Today's the day, guys. I finally get to talk about Pokemon with you guys, and I've been waiting for the longest time to talk about Pokemon because I love Pokemon so much. I always have so much fun with the games. I recently got this poster over here. You'll eventually see it once I do a room tour, but I recently got this poster from 90s Con, which is based off the Pokemon manga, where it shows blue versus red. It's a really awesome poster. Can't wait to show you guys. But man, the opportunity that I get to sit down here in this computer chair and to talk about Pokemon, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun because I've been into Pokemon ever since I was a little kid. Just like how I referenced back in my previous video when I was talking about my journey with anime and manga, Pokemon was one of the main reasons why I got into anime, because I used to watch the anime every single Saturday whenever a new episode was released. And I was really consistent with that. I believe probably all the way up until Gen 5 or 6. Then there was a time period where I stopped, but I still kept up with it, see what was going on every once in a while. But I am watching Pokemon Horizon, so I do know what's going on with that weekly. So really happy I'm getting to that routine again. But mainly, like, when it comes to Pokemon, always playing the games. And I'm mainly talking about like the mainline games, like when it comes to Pokemon Platinum, or Heart Gold, or Soul Silver, or Pokemon X and Y, Scarlet and Violet, games like that, where you start off in the new region, you choose your starter, you travel through the world, you battle these different gyms, you create your own team, all of the things that you normally expect from Pokemon games. Those were the runs I really started to sink my teeth into, and I do want to go from Gen 1 all the way up until Gen 9, just sharing like the starters that I chose from each region and mainly explaining why I chose those starters. So starting off with like Gen 1, I chose Squirtle. That might not be a surprise because a lot of people did like Squirtle, but based on what I remembered, a lot of people always chose Charmander because a lot of people looked at Charmander as the superior starter. A lot of people just like Charmander, and that's why, Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard, that's just why Charizard's so popular, because of that very reason. But I was a Squirtle guy. I loved using Squirtle. I love eventually getting Wartortle and Blastoise. That was my pick for that region. And I was also a fan of turtles, and Squirtle reminded me of that, so that's also another reason. And then when it comes to Gen 2, I chose Cyndaquil, and I had a lot of fun with that Pokemon because I just love Typhlosion. I just had a lot of fun using it. And then when it came to Gen 3, I actually used all starters, to be completely honest. Like, I used Mudkip, I used Torchic, I used Trico, and I had my fair share of all of them. But if I had to choose one out of those three that I mentioned, I would probably have to say Mudkip. Mudkip was the Pokemon that I mainly used in that region. Then I eventually got Marshtomp and Swampert, and then it eventually, turns into a water ground type. It was actually a very useful typing because you only have one weakness, but you also have like these different attacks that you could teach Swampert now that Mudkip didn't learn, especially when it becomes a ground type. You could teach it Earthquake, which is very useful in battle. And then Gen 4, like, that's the one I mainly want to talk about because Gen 4 happens to be my favorite region because I just love the whole world. I love the whole story. I love all the different kinds of Pokemon we got in that region. Like, I honestly think that Gen 4 of Pokemon, which is the Sinnoh region, is honestly a perfect region in my opinion. And the Pokemon I chose there as my starter, and this was a no-brainer because it's also like one of my favorite animals, which is penguins, I chose Piplup. And I just loved using that thing. Like, literally every single time I start a new game, I always chose Piplup. Like, I have used Turtwig before, and maybe like Chimchar like once, but mainly I was Piplup guy. I'm just extremely biased when it comes to penguins, so I chose Piplup. I got my Prinplup, and then I eventually got Empoleon, and I just had a lot of fun. I definitely had a lot of fun. Going to Gen 5 now, I chose Snivy in that region. I don't know what it is with me. I feel like it's probably like one of those things where it's like the starter has to catch my eye, and I also have to see what it eventually evolves into, because once I figure out exactly like which one looks the best to me, that's mainly when I make my decision. And I personally just like the look of Snivy, and when it evolved into Servine and Superior, I basically just liked the whole evolution line of that, so that's why I chose that one. And I had fun with it. It's a pretty fast Pokemon. It has a pretty dope hidden ability where if you attack it, like if you're using Leaf Storm, for example, normally if you use Leaf Storm, you lower your special attack a little bit, but because of its ability, you actually raise your special attack, which is very useful. And I'll get into like the whole competitive part of Pokemon a little bit later after I'm done talking about the starters that I chose. So yeah, that's Gen 5. Gen 6, I chose Froakie, which was mainly the popular starter within that region. You eventually get Greninja. Gen 7, I chose Rowlet because I wanted to Decidueye towards the end. I always thought that Pokemon looked pretty awesome. And then when it came to Gen 8, I chose Scorbunny, again, because I really loved the look of the Pokemon when it finally evolved. And then the last one, which is the current generation that we're in right now, I originally chose Quaxley when I started playing Pokemon Scarlet, but I feel like after I played the game and I started getting more into competitive battling when it came to Pokemon, where I made my own teams to make sure I was strategized correctly with how I wanted to, build up the team so they all worked alongside each other. When I was trying to see how I wanted to use Quackquavel, it was pretty fun for the most part when I used it originally, but I feel like when I started using a Sprigatito and I eventually got Meowscarada, I had a lot more fun with that. So now that I'm bringing that up, I would have to say that Sprigatito is probably my favorite Pokemon when it comes to starters in Generation 9. Like, that's the one I honestly wish I chose originally. It's just at first, I don't know what it was. Maybe I was like a little too into Quaxley at the time, but I feel like, as you play the game, you start discovering more things, and then you start using other Pokemon that you end up liking a little bit more. So that's mainly why my mindset changed a little bit later after I beat Scarlet and Violet, and I started using Meowscarada a lot more. So that's definitely my favorite Pokemon from like each generation. So going through each generation again, all my favorite starters, just a quick little recap. We got Squirtle, we have Cyndaquil, we have Mudkip, we have Piplup, we have Snivy, we have Froakie, we have Rowlet, we have Scorbunny, and then the last one we have Sprigatito. So those are all my favorite starters from Gen 1 and 9. Getting back to the whole competitive thing that I teased, I started getting into competitive Pokemon a little bit later. I feel like that was probably like a good 2 to 3 years ago. I'm gonna say like maybe 2.5 years ago, I started getting more into competitive battling when it came to Pokemon, because for the most part, I mainly just played through the games and beat it, and I tried to complete the Pokedex as much as I possibly could. But I feel like after a while, I wanted to do more things with Pokemon, so I got into competitive battling, and I had a lot of fun with that, designing the movesets, choosing the right natures, making sure I'm having, my EV set a certain way so I can raise the stats that I want. And overall experience of battling your friends with like your competitive team, it's just a really awesome experience. And it happens to be like, one of the big things when it comes to like tournaments and Pokemon. Like, you see stuff like that all the time where people are making their own teams and competing against one another. So it's just a really fun thing to just sit down and do, and I still do it to this day. Trying to make a team, I want to make sure that one Pokemon is able to work right with the other, if you get what I'm trying to say. The games, let's talk about my favorite Pokemon games that I can recall that I really had a lot of time put into it, or mainly the ones that I enjoyed playing throughout like each generation. So I would have to say my first game that really got me into it was Pokemon Fire Red, and that was many years ago when I was probably in like middle school. I have to say like probably like my all-time favorite game, since I am a Sinnoh fanboy, I would probably have to say Pokemon Platinum. I just had a lot of fun playing that game. I honestly wish I still own that game. Maybe I do. Maybe it's like somewhere around my room where my old, DS games were. So maybe if I take some time to look around, I could possibly find it. But Pokemon Platinum, I would have to say, is probably like one of my favorite games. Like I said, I loved everything about the game. I loved all the Pokemon. I loved the story. I loved just taking some time to go down in the secret bases and just go up against those walls and like try to break everything down to find all those hidden items. It was just a really fun generation overall. And then you also had Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which are considered like one of the best Pokemon games out there. Pokemon like is really special to me. Like I just always look forward to Pokemon whenever it comes to a new game. Like it's going to be interesting to see like how Pokemon evolves over time, because we were always used to that whole traditional style with like Pokemon games back then on the handheld. But now as Pokemon is evolving, you look at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it's like an open world. You could travel around, see a variety of things instead of just being locked in at like one area. You could just like go out and just discover the whole entire world within that game, which I thought was really fun. And that's honestly all I have to really say when it comes to my thoughts on Pokemon. Like, so if you guys have your own personal experience with Pokemon that you guys want to share with me, make sure to let me know in the comments section down below. Love to hear if you guys have any fun experiences that you want to share with me about Pokemon. And as always, make sure to follow me on all my social media in the description below. That means my Twitter and my Instagram, that's down there. Make sure to follow me on there. Do not forget to do that so you can keep up to date with me when I'm not posting videos on this channel. And also, before you go, make sure to click that bell for notifications. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, because I'm going to be posting content on this channel a lot. I've been doing pretty good. I've been posting content daily on here, so hopefully we can keep that routine up. And yes, so I hope all of you guys are having a fantastic day. Wherever you guys are, if it's the daytime, the nighttime, or the evening. Again, thank you guys for all the support. We are currently at 12 subscribers right now. Thank you so much for coming along with me on this journey as we continue building up this channel. I appreciate all of you guys. Love you guys so much. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.